Okay. Yeah, it's recording now. um,
Okay.
so like I was saying, my name is Kimberly Garcia. I went to Paris, France in July of 2019. I went with a group called API Study Abroad, and I went to the university called the Institut Catholique de Paris, the Catholic Institute of Paris. I went for the language and the culture. I spent a whole month over in France. I lived in La Fondation des États-Unis. So um, basically, we lived here, all of us, and the only student from UHD that went. So I was pretty much on my own, which is kind of different because I've actually never done that. But when I went over there, they met us at the airport and they said, okay, well, we're going to take you guys first to like a hotel room to like give us an orientation and everything. They gave us our Metro cards, they gave us our university ID cards, and then they let us meet with the other students that were there. And they told us about some excursions we were going to take. So almost every weekend we would take an excursion to say Giverny, where what's his name, Claude Monet used to live. We went to the Picasso Museum. We went to the Loire Valley. So these is where we kind of went for one of our excursions. We went to the city of Loire. It's a small town. So they let us wander around on our own. They just said, you know, download a city map app that lets you kind of track everyone around while you're over there. And that's how we managed to communicate. We pinpointed where we lived and everything over there. And then once we started school from Monday through Friday, which is only 2 hours in the morning and then 1 hour in the evening. We had 2-hour lunch breaks, which is completely different from the US, where you actually have to like have 30-minute lunches and you have to like kind of like sculpt everything down. Over there we had 2 hours. So it was actually kind of like really nice to like sit down at like an actual cafe and actually order like your food and like take your time and not have to like sculpt everything down like here. And their customs are a bit different from ours. Like they actually require you to say like good morning if you go in to like a building and you don't know anybody. You have to say good morning or good evening. When you leave, like you tell everyone have a good day. And that's kind of like really nice to me. Like it's something different that you don't see in the States. And then one of the other things that we managed to do was they let us go on our own. So we could go explore different museums and everything. And then here's a picture of the group that I was with. And we went to the Chateau de Loire. So we visited the chateau and they let us have free reign of the entire chateau, which then they gave us about 2-3 hours. And then we moved on to like a different excursion. We went from there and then we went on a boat ride actually. Here. It was on the Loire Valley as well. And this is where we were waiting to actually get on the boat because there was a lot of us and we had to take like 4 different boats because the boats were pretty small, pretty narrow. And if we like got on, it would like move a little bit. So all of us were kind of scared because we were saying we're all going to tip over. We're all going to fall in. One girl did fall in. She didn't step on it right and she just like toppled in. And it made us all laugh. Like we actually had to get her like some new clothing because we weren't near the hotel. And we had to like go shopping and looking for different stuff. And some of us were not even sure like how to find the clothing because we're like, we don't know where the shops are. And then some shops were actually kind of like really small, kind of hidden. And then when you go through like the little towns, it looks like a small alleyway, but it's not an alleyway. It's actually like an actual like street. And then when we were in class, after the excursions, we would basically mostly be writing in French and like reading in French and speaking it. Like our teachers or our professors didn't speak any English to us. The only time they spoke English to us was on the first day we got there, because the first day that we got there was when we took the oral exam and the written exam. So the oral exam, basically they just bring you in with a different professor from the university over there. They sit you down and tell you speak as much French to us as you can, right? And they take the scoring from there to see if you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And then they place you into your different classrooms. And then the first class that we had when we were placed in first was our normal like spoken language, written language class. The 1-hour class in the evening was actually our phonetics. So we had to learn how to pronunciate and enunciate everything because the language is so complex sometimes. So they would teach us all that 2 times a week, and then the rest of them was just once a day in the mornings. And then when we went on like free reigns, I managed to go to the Louvre, and when I went to the Louvre, they actually let us go like really close to the Mona Lisa. So I was like right behind one of the panels, and this is the closest that I got to the Mona Lisa, which is actually kind of like really exciting. I thought it was gonna be bigger, honestly, but it's not as big as I thought it was. And then they said, okay, well, you guys can go, explore different areas of the city. We went to Montmartre. We went to Les Invalides. We even saw where Napoleon was buried. So this is where Napoleon is buried, inside Les Invalides, inside the museum for the army. Apparently, it's kind of like a joke for everyone because that huge casket right in the middle, the brown part, is actually where he's buried. And they said that he wasn't that big, that tall. So all the French people that I spoke to always laughed about it. And they're like, oh, he's buried in a big box, but he's like really tiny. And then once we actually got through all the classes and everything, we had about 3 or 4 days on our own. So we could go anywhere we wanted. We could literally go from Paris to Versailles in like an hour. And that's what we did on a few days. Majority of us, well, actually 2 people were from Boston. I was the only one from UHD, and then one other person was from Houston, but they went to the University of the Sorbonne, which is a different university in France, but they also studied language and culture. So we all got together and we went on these excursions all together, even though we didn't know each other. We're from different universities. And it was nice having to, talk to everyone from different perspectives because they saw Paris in a completely different way. And that's actually really nice because you get friends from all over the world. There was a friend of mine that was from Vietnam, another friend of mine that was from Brazil. And all of these people were in the same class. And if you don't start speaking the language a little bit more, you can't communicate with them, which is also nice because then when you're speaking the language, you're learning it, and you make more friends. On the last few days that I was over there, the last thing that they told us was that our Metro Pass lasted only the month long. It was month long, which is only 70 euros. So we can go on as many rides on the Metro if we wanted to. And when we were leaving, they said, okay, you guys can keep it. And the good thing about it is if we go back, we could literally just put more euro in there and it would work just fine. So it's basically permanently ours. And yeah, then I came back and then I decided to actually keep a journal where I would actually write all my like adventure stuff that I went on. I kept like little things like this. I doodled in there, and then I did little stickers and stuff where I would keep everything in a memory because it's something you're not going to forget, just study abroad trip. It was literally my last trip that I was going to take right before I graduated. So I said, I'm going to keep it in like a journal. And then I made a video that I gave Mr. Magoo, which he posted on the UHD YouTube page, right? So that's up, and I think it's up and running now. So if you guys want to check it out, you guys can go to the UHD page for the YouTube page. It's up there.
All right. Thank you, Kimberly. We'll do questions at the end. But if you stay online, Kimberly, and then we'll have Laboria to speak next and share her experience of studying abroad. I mean, as you can hear, Kimberly had a fantastic time studying abroad, making new friends and learning lots of new skills. So, Laboria, are you online?
Yes, I'm online right now.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to hand it over to you. You can share your screen. You should be the host.
No, actually, I don't have. It's because I'm using my phone. My laptop is just not working at the moment, so I wasn't able to. So I'm just gonna talk right quickly about my experience and trying to encourage each one of y'all to, take an abroad trip. Alrighty, let me start out first. I said my name is Laboria Chavez. I am a senior at the University of Houston downtown, majoring in accounting with a minor in Spanish and finance. I have gone to 3 study abroads. They were all wonderful experiences. And I could tell you something, that studying abroad opens your mindset to a whole different perspective. Like, it pushes you to do so much better in your overall life, because when you go on these study abroads, you meet people, and with those people, like, you learn something from each one of them. I went to Costa Rica for my Spanish minor, so I was able to complete my Spanish minor in Costa Rica. I went to China. It was for like an internship for supply chain. So I was in China for a month, and in Costa Rica, I was in Costa Rica for 4 weeks as well. And then I went to Ecuador. Ecuador was more like a 1 week project. It was more like a community service event, but it was still considered an abroad type of trip within UHD. Let's start first with Costa Rica. So in Costa Rica, I was placed in a household with my host family. A host family is somebody that you stay with and they cook for you. You bond with them. You cultural exchange. So you actually having that experience and having that cultural change in a household where you eat local food because whoever's your host mom, she's cooking for you food that's originally from that country. So I was eating food food from the country each day, and then I was going to school. I was placed, and I can't really recall the name of the university that I was placed at, but it was we will go from 8:30 to 12:30, and afterwards we will have excursions. We will go around the city looking for historical places, or we will have teaching classes, dancing classes. It was a really fun experience, and I was able to complete my minor over there. So the classes weren't hard because I already knew Spanish. But even if you don't know Spanish, the people there are so nice and they're willing to help you out. And that country is known as pura vida, which is pure life, which is true because everybody, like, just being at the airport, like, everybody greets you like they know you. And there's the hospitality there is amazing. Moving forward to Ecuador. It was it was a 1 week type of program. So each day we were doing something different each day. We were always on the go. We were never at our place that we were staying. I also had a host family there. She will cook for us Ecuadorian food, and then afterwards we will go to our community service place. I went to paint schools for little kids, for low income families. The schools were plain white, so they needed a little color. So like the students would come to school with like pride, and they will look something, they will have something to look out for. So we did that. We also help women, single mothers, take care of their babies and like take care of chores around their household, so that they're able to just concentrate one day on themselves and one day on just their homework without having to worry about their babies. So we were taking care of them. We were doing the house chores for them so they could relax and have a day for themselves. We also went out and helped the Amazon community. So we went out to the Amazon River, and we were able to plant, help with nature, help with plant new cacao trees. We were able to fish. So we were able to get some fish out of like the river and eat it afterwards. And these communities. Another thing that we did, we did so many community projects. So Ecuador was mainly a community-based type of project. And lastly, China. China was different actually, because China, I was just bouncing around from city to city as well. It was my first time being abroad like for a long time, because it is a 16-hour flight. So it is the longest flight I ever gotten. And it was amazing too. I mean, I was learning Mandarin at the moment, so I was just trying to go to proficient my language as well. And why nothing else than going to a country to practice the language that you want to learn. And it was an amazing experience. Everybody was super nice to you. Honestly, people from the US, if you go to China, they would treat you like a celebrity. Like, they think you're a celebrity because you're different. And for myself, it was my curls. They were like, "Oh my God, your hair!" And I was like, "Yeah, this is my real hair." They were like, "Oh my God!" And they're so nice and they're so loving. And over there I was doing community projects as well. So I was over there, I was on work site from 8:30 all the way to 2:30. And afterwards we will go to different sites, like also see cultural, see museums, see around town. And then on some days we would do community projects as well. So we will also like help schools and give back to the students that need help. And over there though, I didn't have a host family. Over there, I was staying in a hotel, and then I stayed on a resort too. So and that was included already in my fee for my abroad. So when you pay for these abroads, you pay for overall. It's not like you're paying like part by part. So like that's a good thing I love about UHD, that you're able to pay upfront everything that you need to pay. So when you go to these countries, all you have to worry about is like souvenirs or fun stuff that you want to get for yourself, or any other trips that you want to get on your own. You're able to do that. But overall, UHD takes care of having everything paid off before you leave, so you don't have to worry about like expenses of your resort, hotel, or your plane ticket or anything like. I mean, your plane ticket, you have to buy it separately as well. So my plane tickets were bought separately, and yeah. So all of my trips, I pay the scholarship, and then you're able to apply for scholarships as well. So don't feel like, oh, I can't study abroad because I have money issues. There's always scholarships out there if you're willing to do the work and submit the applications on time and do the essays. They're willing to help you because they want to help you. So if you want to abroad and you're suffering from like money issues but you do want to travel, I say take the opportunities. Ali is a great leader in like sending emails, alerts, and having all these webinars. And if you do want to do it, just stay tuned and stay communicated with him, and he's able to help you out with what you need in order to get you where you want to go.
Okay, Laboria, thank you. I know you have to log off, do you? But she is open to questions. She's also our SGA Vice President. I don't know if you want to do a plug for that quickly, Laboria, before you head off back to work.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm also the UHD Vice President for the student body. So if any of you all need help or anything related, feel free to ask me. I'm an open book. I'm always an open book. So I'm willing to help you all because I know I've been there, done that. So I want to be able to give back to students and, help be a resource for you all. So don't feel like you can ask. Ask me anything. I'm willing to answer.
And you do have a web page, right? Laboria SGA has a web page with all your details on.
Mm-hmm. So like if you don't want to ask right now, you can always reach me at UHD SGA. I have my email and then I have my number on there, or email SGA and ask for Laboria, or whatever the case is. Ask. We're there for you. We're just trying to help you all. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Laboria, for that. That was a great insight into the many different UHD study abroad options that you've taken up. And our final speaker is Paola. She's going to be talking about her semester trip abroad, which she embarked on. I think it was 2018, is that correct? 19. All right. Well, I'm going to let you take it away and give the students an opportunity to hear your amazing story.
Okay, great. So yeah, my name is Paola Bueno. And so I kind of made a little presentation just so I wouldn't miss anything. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Give me one moment. All right, can you guys see that? Yes. Okay, awesome. So like Ali said, the country that I went to was Estonia, and I actually went for a semester. So the semester of 2019, I went in August, and then came back January of this year. And then little did I know, like a couple months later, Corona would start. So I actually was very lucky in that regard. So let's get started. So overview about what I'll be talking about. So I just wanted to give like a very full explanation of from everything from preparing for the trip before to coming back home and everything in between, just to give kind of like a really full explanation about how the whole process works, at least in my experience for a semester trip. So like I said, my name is Paola Bueno. Where I went is Estonia, my major, is Management Information Systems, and the university that I went to is Tallinn University. So for those of you who don't know where Estonia is, it's completely fine. I did not at all. And so it's located right here. I went to the capital, Tallinn. And so it's right next to a number of countries, Russia, right next to it, Finland, Sweden, and then Latvia. And so Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania actually make like the Baltic countries. They're still part of the European Union, but they kind of have their own little like group amongst that. And that has to do with, well, they border the Baltic Sea, but they kind of have their own history that kind of unites them together. So preparing for the trip, one big thing, well, a couple big things. One, after being approved at the university, then I had to start kind of getting everything ready from my end. And so one of those things entailed getting my classes approved. Like I mentioned, my major is Management Information Systems. And so that was a bit tricky and a lengthy process because it's part of the business college. And because of that, the business college has specific requirements when they're going to accept classes from a different university. And so that took quite a bit of talking with the MIS, dean and kind of leaders of the major to finally come to an agreement of the classes that I could take over there. Because one thing that I wanted to make sure of is that the classes that I would take when I came back would be accepted as part of my degree plan, because I had a graduation date that I was really wanting to complete my major in. And so I would definitely recommend, if you guys take the opportunity to go on one of these trips, to really make that a point to make sure, because for me, the worst thing that could happen, or not the worst, but one bad thing that could happen is that you take this semester off, you didn't leave everything clear with your home university, you come back and your classes aren't accepted with your degree plan, especially if that's a point that you want to enforce. And so I wanted to talk about that. Visa requirements as well. Depending on the country that you're going to, you'll have to see what kind of the agreements are with the states and that country, whether you have to get a visa before you leave, or if the option is there for you to get it when you arrive to the country. And that was the case for myself. I was able to go there and then kind of finish all the kind of paperwork and process over there. But I do recommend, if you have the possibility to get things done here, I think it's better because you're in the country that you know, with the language, everyone speaks the same language as you. And so it's easier process, but it is a lengthy one. And so if you do have the ability and the time to get everything done here, I think that's the best option. In terms of financing, I did three kind of main points that financed my trip. One is I saved my own money, but the main sources came from two sources, which is the UHD scholarship. I received a scholarship from the university, which was a lot of help, and that's determined upon a number of factors to see how much the university is able to give you. And then the second one was that Tallinn University also offered a really generous scholarship. The tuition was free for my classes. They offered a monthly allowance and affordable dorm accommodation. And so I know that's not the case for every study abroad trip, but I wanted to share that information because it is something as generous as this is possible, if it was possible for my trip. And so it's just about seeing kind of what programs are offered at the UHD Study Abroad office, and to see how that lines up with your situation. And then of course researching the country, because I didn't know anything about Estonia before going. I didn't even know it was a country. And so researching the country for sure. I mean, anytime you go to a country for a lengthy amount of time, you want to know kind of what the customs are, just so that you can present yourself in the best way, because often there are discrepancies or differences that you don't even know could be kind of negative towards the other country. So all of that is very much valuable to do. Next, leaving the country. I had the opportunity to go with my parents. They paid for their own trip, but they wanted to go with me, and that was a lot of help and was really nice, because can be quite kind of daunting to go to so far away by yourself. But I know that's not like an opportunity or an option for most people. I can just say that for me was a lot of help, because they helped me to get everything situated. It was I didn't, or like in this program there was no other like UHD student, so it's just myself, and so that really helped. But if that's not an option where you can go with a friend or your partner or whatever it is, they did at this university have a program where they assign people buddies, because they had quite a number of international students come in, and so they were really trying to think of like what's the best way to make someone coming from a different country comfortable. And so they had they would assign like buddies that would meet you at the airport and kind of help you get to your dorm and get situated, discover the city, and show you the university and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool. Next, so now like being in Estonia, how it was, classes. One thing that I noticed that was a big difference is that they're more focused on practical work more than theory than my degree, which just means that like I think for MIS, and or at least my experience with my degree, it was more focused on kind of concepts rather than getting your hands into like working with things, whereas they were more focused on, all right, let's get our hands dirty and let's like, you know, work on projects more than like textbook work or understanding concepts. So that was a big difference, which I really liked. And then my classes were in English, so that was good. They also did, like in the first couple of weeks, a lot of social events for you to meet different students. Like I said, they had a lot of international students come in, and so they had programs like that. They would meet at different restaurants, or kind of have different events to kind of get people doing events together to meet people. And then they also had this kind of side program where they would bring students on different school trips. And so for those of you that don't know so much, well, as we saw on the map, there are many countries around that are really easy to travel to. It's way easier to travel to in Europe than in the States, because they have like train systems and blah, blah, blah. And so I had the opportunity to go to 2 in these school trips, which was Russia and Finland. We went to Lapland, and actually in Ali's background, that was what I was trying to, like, we were going to a place that looked like that, with the kind of lights, the aurora lights. Unfortunately, there was like a lot of clouds that day, so we weren't able to see it, but that's basically where we went. And then I did kind of trips by myself with friends. So I went to Scotland, Amsterdam, Sweden, and Germany. So that was really cool. And what else? Food. In Estonia, they have quite a combination of foods. Like it's quite international, but it's also limited as well. It's not. It wasn't like Houston, where you could literally find every culture food. Variety of food options. So that wasn't bad at all. Or not bad, but just like I didn't have to get accustomed to any foods that I didn't know. and then I had international roommates, and so that's one picture. The picture with all the girls, that was, we shared a flat, and so there were different rooms, but in the kind of how would you say, like in that flat there were 8 people in total, but it wasn't like we were sharing one room. Like we shared a kitchen, and then like there were different rooms. Anyways, they were from different countries, and I still have like contact with them, and I plan to, once Corona finishes, to go visit them. But that was like a really cool experience to make relationships with these girls. Okay, coming back. So what was different about you? One big thing that I would say is that I was way more independent, because I had never done anything like that by myself, because my parents only went to help me with the first week to get settled, and then they came back. And so it was like, yeah, it was a total of almost 6 months. And so, yeah, that's one thing that was different about me, is that I was way more independent, way more like confident in myself, because I could see kind of that I could do so many things, and be in a situation completely different from what I'm used to, and have a great experience from it. And then coming back home, what was really different is the culture, coming back to the States. And I think, Kimberly, you talked a little bit about that, where you see the differences from like European mindset and American mindset. And so I think a really positive thing is that you can take from good things. And so, yeah, that was different. And so there's a little bit more pictures. And so overall, it was experiences that I've had, because I learned a lot about myself, about different people, about different countries. I was able to see how different people, or how people look at the world differently, and live their lives in such a different way than myself. And so it really allowed me to step outside of my comfort zone and learn from a lot of different people. And so I very much like recommend this sort of our program to anyone who's interested. And yeah, that concludes my presentation. Great.
Thank you, Paola. That was really interesting. And the part I love is about where you got the opportunity to travel to different countries during your time in Europe. And I think you did mention this, that once you're on mainland Europe, you can pretty much travel everywhere using the rail network, and the low-cost airlines are a lot cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
In the United States.
For sure.
One thing I do want to add on is that all the students, all our presenters today did receive course credit as part of their study abroad option. And also all of them did receive the UHD study abroad travel scholarship too. So those are still in place. It normally takes 1 semester to prepare yourself before you leave. Kimberly and Viola would provide testimony to that. But I'm now going to open the floor to our speakers. And so this is a great opportunity for you to ask them questions, or if you have any questions about study abroad in general, to me.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Sophia.
If I'm planning on going abroad, not next semester, but on fall, should I start applying right now for the scholarship and everything?
What would you recommend, Kimberly or Paola? What would you say? You've been through the processes.
Ah, so you're saying that you want to, you would want to for the following semester?
Not next semester, not from January to whatever month. I would like to go from, for example, from fall semester of 2021.
I don't think you need so much time because actually my experience was that I did everything very like last minute, so I don't recommend that. But I think just like, let's say one semester before, because we're kind of in the second semester, before that point that you'd want to take it. So like starting like January and stuff, I would recommend. But what do you think, Kimberly?
Yeah, I did mine in a pretty late. It took me quite a while, and it was a lengthy process. So I'd probably say just like look at the requirements and everything that you need, so that you can gather all the paperwork on time. Because in my experience, I was actually late on like 2 or 3 papers, and I was like running around trying to get these papers in quickly. So I'd say just start looking into like the requirements and look into the country that you might want to go to. Start learning a little bit more of like the culture and everything, so you're not as like shell shocked when you go over, because sometimes the cultures change so much. It's completely different from the US, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I would say like once you get approved, and I don't know how it is, Ali, like maybe you could talk also about that, because for me, I think like you get approved and then you kind of start doing all of the work, right? So what would you recommend?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend one semester before. And I think the longest process was getting your courses approved. I think Kimberly and Paola would provide testament to that. That is probably the longest period that you have to wait on your course approval, because you need that before you leave, because you want to receive the credit upon your return.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Sophia?
Yes, and how or who should I talk to get all my courses approved and the classes that I should take over there in the other country and not here? Like, who should I talk to?
So you probably first want to reach out to myself, and then we can set a plan in motion of what you need to do first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, because a lot of that is going to depend on what university you're interested in, because a little bit about the process, once you see like, okay, there is this study abroad opportunity to this country of this university, because what UHD does is they work directly with the university of that country that the program is with. And so once you know what the university is, then you can go and look at what are the classes that they offer that regard in your degree. So if your degree is in computer science, or I don't know, in literature or whatever it is, you want to go to that department in their university and then see what classes, and then you would kind of have that conversation with your department head of your degree to see what they would approve. But yeah, I think like Ali said, the first point would be to talk with Ali, and then you guys can get kind of like a plan situated.
Thank you.
To that, is there anything you want to add? Because you use some electives, is that correct?
Oh, myself?
No, Kimberly, she used some electives.
I did. I actually forgot to mention that when I was talking about my study abroad experience. When I went on study abroad, it wasn't for my major. I'm a criminal justice major with a minor in psychology. So French language had nothing to do with it. But I studied it for so long that I said I just want to kind of do it for fun. So I used up some of my electives just for the study abroad, which allowed me to kind of graduate early now because I'm not going to graduate next semester. I'm graduating this semester. I was supposed to graduate next semester. But thanks to study abroad, I'll be graduating in December. So I just basically used, I think, 2 or 3 of my electives for the study abroad course, which is possible. You just have to talk to your advisors. Like I talked to Mr. Magoo first, and then I talked to my advisors. And I had to go to the Spanish department because they don't have French department at UHD. So you just have to know who to talk to, and then they'll help you through the whole process.
Mhm.
That's great. Have we got any more questions you want to ask? And it doesn't just have to be, you can talk about the countries, the different programs, the costs.
Yeah, I actually had a question. Sorry, one, thanks for sharing. It's been really fun to spend lunch listening to you guys' experiences and how different they all are. I did just kind of want to get down to the cost, and I know scholarships are great and everything, but would either of you be willing to share like the total cost and then perhaps what, scholarships you received?
Yeah, I can go ahead and talk about that. So the reason that I didn't think I was going to do a study abroad opportunity because typically they can be quite costly. But Ali was the one who talked to me about this opportunity that came up with Estonia, where they had very generous scholarship, right? So that's not with every opportunity, but it was with this one, and so there could be other ones. But I can just speak from my experience. So the university, first of all, the tuition was free. And then, like I talked about, they gave a monthly allowance. And that monthly allowance for mine was 800 euros. And so that's like, the euro and the dollar is not so different. So let's say like $750 each month, right? And so that was enough for my accommodation, like my dorm rent, and then for food, and it lasted me like each month. It was perfect for that amount. And then they also helped with like my my flight over to Estonia. So they were really generous. And then above that, I had a UHD university scholarship. So really, I didn't have to pay for much. So that was really cool. But I know that's not like all of the programs. So you'd have to see, like, that differs, but.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly, I don't know if you would be willing to share about your time in Paris.
Yeah. Well, with finances, UHD gave me a scholarship, and I also got a scholarship from API. And API was willing to help me out with housing and everything, and then they covered the university stuff. Each week, they would give me my grocery cart, which is 80 euros each week for groceries and everything, and then they gave us pots and pans. They set up our kitchens for us. So the only thing we really had to pay was just pay it to API, and they would take care of everything for me. So the only thing I really had to pay over there was basically if I wanted to get a souvenir or if I wanted to like go to different cafes and stuff, which wasn't that bad at all. Most of everything was covered for me. I did have to pay my flight separately, which was probably that, and then the expenses, like I said before, were the only things I had to cover.
Are either of y'all willing to share what that number was? Like overall what your cost was, or overall what the cost would have been?
But about roughly about 6,000.
Okay.
I think including my flight. Yeah, including my flight. But I did have to pay a little bit extra when it came to my expenses because I did go to a lot of cafes.
Right.
Consideration when you go, because sometimes you might see like something cute or something like a cute cafe or something. You're like, oh, I want to go in there, and then you go in there and you just kind of like, buy stuff. So
Yeah.
do take consideration when you see something like that.
As for me, I would say that what I had to cover was like just extra things because everything else was covered for.
Okay.
So like extra trips that I wanted to take because I did quite a bit of traveling. But typically like with the scholarship of the UHD and of the other university, they covered most, if not all of it.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And Sloan, I just want to add into that. I always on an agreement with the University of Tallinn, and they offer that same package to our students. It's a new agreement, and actually, Iola was the first student that had taken that opportunity, and we were hoping to re-sign that opportunity again for once COVID is finished, and so another student will get that opportunity too. So there are different opportunities out there and different fundings, and so definitely set up an appointment to come and speak to me. I can talk to you about what your options are regarding financial aid, scholarships, and other ways of trying to raise some money for study abroad.
Awesome. Thank you. I will look forward to setting that up.
Has anybody else got any other questions? We've got a few more minutes. So this is still an opportunity for you to ask about different programs and what their experience was like, accommodation, things like that.
I do have a question. I don't know if it's a dumb question, but does UHD help you decide which school should you study in the other country, or that's up to me?
Actually, that's a really good question because it's not me that decides the country, it's actually yourself, Sophia. I don't know how Kimberly or Iola chose their countries. Maybe they can let us in on how they chose the countries.
Yeah, I can start. So for me, the big thing was financing. So what I did was to look at what the best options or the best. I knew I wanted to take a semester, but the biggest thing was financing. So what I did was to look at the options that were available and what they could offer, and then I chose through there. And so when I heard how generous the package was for Tallinn, I chose that, and then I started to research. So yeah, that was just kind of what I did, instead of like, oh, what sounds nice, and then what then I consider financing. For me, the big thing was financing, so that's what decided.
For me, the main reason I chose France was because of the language. There was two places that I could go, either Paris, or Grenoble. But I think Grenoble was for summer 1, and then I was gonna go for summer 2, and the one that was open for summer 2 was Paris. I chose it specifically because of the language. I'd been studying French for quite a while, and I'd only taken 1 or 2 classes in high school, and I'd done self-taught on my own, and I wanted to kind of challenge myself and say, okay, let me try to go live in the country that speaks the language, even though I've only done self-taught and only 2 classes. And that was actually a really good experience, because then I actually chose a country just to challenge myself. And I thought, okay, well, I'll do it as like a fun challenge for me. That's why I chose France, or Paris, sorry.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I also want to say, depending on which countries you go to, the cost of living can be very different. So if you're going to go to somewhere like Australia, it's going to be, and England, it's going to be more expensive than going to somewhere like China or Taiwan or Thailand or any of the Southeast Asian countries or some of the South American countries as well. So choosing a country that's going to be within your budget is also something to consider, and also the time of length that you want to go, because you can go for the whole semester, you can go for the summer 1 or summer 2, or just or you can go for winter classes during the winter period for 4 weeks or 3 weeks. So there are a number of different opportunities that you can take, and we can explore those together in your meetings with me on how, you know, what's going to be the best fit for you in regards to finance and classes too.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? Well, I think we're just about out of time. I want to thank Kimberly and Paola for helping to come on here and present to you about their experience of studying abroad. I always enjoy listening to the different adventures that you all got up to. And I was amazed that Kimberly, you got to visit that chateau. Were you on your own, did you say? Was that just exclusive to your group?
Yes, API told us that we had, I think it was 3 or 4 weekends, so they would take us on different excursions. And you get to pick out the excursions you wanted to, or you could just take like the full package, which we went to, like I said, Loire Valley. We went to a vineyard. We went to Giverny, where Claude Monet used to live. We went to Blois. So we basically just each weekend went, and it was already paid for in our package.
Perfect. So there are lots of opportunities, and all our partner providers do offer payment plans too, so you're not having to pay all the money up front.
They do offer payment plans. API helped me out a lot with that, because they said you can do it in payment plans, but you have to finish the payment plan right before you went so that everything was clear.
There we go. All right. Just a reminder, we have German cultural lunchtime, which will be next on Thursday between 12 and 1:15. We have a guest speaker from Germany who will be live talking to you about what Germany's like, studying abroad, food, culture, all those fun things. So that's, if you've not registered for that, you can do. With all our links to register are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and on the UHD Study Abroad webpage. As Kimberly said, we've also got a lot of fun videos on the UHD Study Abroad YouTube channel. So there is a new one, and it says that in the description, so make sure you're clicking on the right one. And I think Paola's video is also on there too, of her trip to Estonia, which she submitted. So if you want to hear and see what they got up to on their study abroad program, those videos are really fun to see, and they're not very long. I think 3 to 4 minutes. So once again, thank you for coming, and hopefully you'll all make appointments to see us soon. All right, thank you.
Thank you.